traversing back to shortly after Son Goku first unlocked the Super Saiyan transformation and defeated the intergalactic emperor known as Lord Frieza. The villain managed to stave off death due to his unnatural resiliency, though if only by a thread. In a nearby ship, a soldier's voice echoes through the corridors, calling to King Cold, Frieza has been found. The senior Frost Demon quickly rounds the corner, astonished to hear this. Immediately, the crew ushers their fallen ruler into a medical machine. Though missing an arm and the entire lower half of his body, things definitely aren't looking good. Upon absorbing the reality of the situation, the king stands in disbelief on how this could be. But who is this at his side? We're left to wonder not only why in the world is the Kaioshin of the West alive, previously believed to have been killed by Majin Buu eons ago, but more so, what is she doing casually mingling with King Cold? Simultaneously, the aforementioned is still trying to comprehend how a mere Saiyan was able to do this to his son. The once proud dictator now reduced to pitifully crying out for his parents at the pain he's in, whimpering for both his father and mother. Is that the relevancy of the West Kaioshin here? After staring stoically into the tank, she turns to leave, Cold screaming he will get revenge on whoever did this. As she makes her way down the hall, another Frost Demon shouts out to his mother, greatly resembling Cooler. In a panicked sweat, it appears he has just caught wind that Frieza is alive, but the Kaio hisses she couldn't care less about the fate of the half-dead fool. The mere sound of her voice causes everyone nearby to stop in their tracks. She thinks to herself she no longer needs a son who isn't the most powerful in the universe, before screaming at a nearby henchman to prepare a ship immediately, who is quick to comply. All that is currently known is a Saiyan who calls himself Son Goku is the one who slayed Frieza, leaving the West Kaioshin to wonder what kind of man this warrior could be to execute such a feat, believing he might be the key to universal conquest. Her first goal is to establish contact with him before Cold and the others are able to. Suddenly, she snaps at the underling, shouting for him to hurry up as she plans on leaving immediately. The man apologizes in terror, revealing her name is Lila. Now, several decades have passed, and a crisis unlike any other before has drawn near the peaceful Earth. Up until now, Son Goku and the other Z-Warriors have saved the planet from the likes of Cell, Majin Buu, and countless other villains. Even after the Dragon Team had appeared to come face to face with the most powerful of entities, alas, several more would arrive to threaten all of humanity, each somehow stronger than the last. With their final victory, Goku's role on his adoptive planet would ultimately come to an end, vanishing from the living world together with Shenron. The Earth was deprived of both its greatest hero and the Dragon Balls, although peace had been achieved in return. At Orange Star University in Satan City, a woman shuffles through the busy halls of the school, appearing to be Erasa, Gohan's former classmate at Orange Star High. She heads to a room labeled Sun's office. Entering, she unveils a chamber of scattered textbooks, and who can be presumed to be Professor Sun on the phone, frantically working on the papers in front of him, while simultaneously attempting to reschedule an academic conference with someone on the phone. The woman tries to get his attention from the doorway, to no avail. He's too encumbered by what's already on his plate. Her voice finally clicking, he whips around to apologize for unintentionally ignoring her, requesting she come back a little later. But that doesn't seem to be an option, as he is supposed to be giving a lecture at this very moment. At the realization she's correct, his elbow knocks into one of the towers of books on his desk, as maybe Erasa screams out in horror. Gohan is buried alive, but of course, he's unfazed, letting out a giggle at his predicament. He admits he forgot all about the lecture. While he takes a moment to compose himself, he quickly heads towards his designated classroom, wishing he could merely be left alone to focus solely on his research, but knows how impossible that is. After all, he is the only one in his family who works. Albeit a little late, he faces his students to greet them for the lesson. As he begins to explain the habitats of the seven-colored wart frog are few and far between, we find his brother amongst the students. One of his fellow classmates questions if he saw what happened on the news last night. With excitement, he replies he did. There was an alien caught at Satan Rock. While the pair go over how cool it is, a third student overhears what they're talking about. And in fact, she actually heard it's not an alien at all, but simply a shaven ape, which the boys find even more astonishing for some reason. Able to easily hear the less than quiet murmurs of the group, Professor Sun glares up at him in frustration. A fourth getting in on the debate, Palace. They all agree to find out for themselves after school. Interrupting. An emergency broadcast blares over the PA, informing a robbery has occurred in Key Bird Town, and everyone in the area should exercise extreme caution. Though Palace seems a bit more focused on something else. Smiling, she's never seen an ape before, and whether there will be one or not, they just want to go find out. The ditzy young girl really stuck on hoping whatever it is indeed an ape. Her classmate chuckling, she would rather it be a zoo animal than a real-life alien. As Gohan begins to call for his brother's attention from behind, Goten expresses how he's looking forward to just the two of them. Really trying to get his attention. The adolescent turns around to inquire what he wants. He reminds of the broadcast, instructing him to get going already, though the boy argues he has plans today, and there's no way he's playing superhero right now. Hearing their big plans, Gohan doesn't figure how going to see a bald ape is excuse enough to skip out on his duties, threatening to cut his allowance if he doesn't leave this instant, putting him in quite a bind. Unfortunately, unlike his older brother, Goten isn't a fan of troubling himself with fighting crime. On the roof, away from prying eyes, he puts on his disguise. Going into character as Great Saiyaman 3, ready to squash any villains who dare threaten the peace. Unbeknownst to him, his friends see everything that just happened. Although, it appears they're already relatively aware of his alter ego, Palace clearly falling for the young Sentai warrior. It doesn't take long before he finds the reason for his summons. Of course, the old, very old, Pilaf gang has taken a child hostage, resulting in a standoff with the local police. As onlookers can only gawk at the events that play out before them, Pilaf himself can't help but wonder why on earth they're even doing this. Mai reminds they had no other choice, having spent their lives constructing high-tech machines. Now they don't even have enough money for basic living expenses. Shu sighs, this really must be what rock bottom feels like. On the scene, Goten shouts for the villains to prepare themselves, as Great Saiyaman 3 is, "It's Papaya Man!" Stealing the spotlight, Oob appears to have amassed quite the loyal fanbase and doing his own superhero routine. With a giant smile on his face, he recommends everyone stand aside. Goten just aghast to see Oob has become Mr. Popular all of a sudden. Then again, after only losing to Mr. Satan at the World Tournament due to a single perfect punch thrown by the champ, it shouldn't be too much of a surprise to see he's gotten a little bit of recognition. Beckoning forth his foes. He expends little effort in subduing the bad guys. His admirers cheer his name in celebration, leaving the mighty Great Saiyaman 3 to wonder just where exactly he stands in all of this, as a piece of exposition slaps him in the face. It turns out Papaya Man ranks even above Mr. Satan himself now in the superhero rankings. The first two Great Saiyamans placing 3rd and 4th, the other being Videl, of course. Skimming down the list, we actually find a few familiar names, as some non-Dragon Ball characters appear to have made their way to Dragon World, as well as several former Budokai contestants. While much here leaves a bit to be explained, going all the way to the bottom of the list, we find Goten's moniker, ranking only above Superman, formerly of Penguin Village, who is unranked altogether. Entirely baffled at being ranked the 100th best, or not so best, hero of the city. On the inside, he knew he wasn't going to like what he saw. But at any rate, since the bad guys are dealt with, he can just go home. As he takes his time floating through the sky, 2 craters have formed nearby. A man looks out at the closest city, lost in thought that this is where his father is from. Lila smirks. The time has arrived for their parent-child ambitions to come full circle, revealing XICOR, the self-proclaimed heir to his father, Son Goku, the most powerful warrior in the universe. When something catches his attention, as Goten makes his way home, he still sulks on what happened with Oob, only wishing he would have at least used a little common courtesy to let him be the hero, having shown up first and all. Pleased how one of them has found their way to them. Somehow, they already know who Goten is. Lost in the moment, the boy wonders if school has even let out yet. Jumping out in front of him, Goten scrambles to ask who this guy is, who calmly questions if he is indeed Son Goten, quickly putting his helmet on to claim surely not, but the Great Saiyan— Die! Sensing his brother's ki drop sharply, Gohan knows there is definitely something wrong, also feeling the insanely large ki that just popped up. Not only in Satan City are the vibrations of the attack felt, but it also reaches the distant mountain town Ten Shinhan resides in. Unfortunately, Goten stood no chance against the powerful blast, though he still lives. As Lilo realizes someone else is approaching, Gohan rushes into the aid of his brother, kneeling down at his side to see what, if anything, he can do. The others identify him immediately, asking if he's okay. Goten can barely speak, as XICOR touches down behind the pair. Gohan screams to know who he is and why he's done this, but the villain can only grin, questioning if he really is the fabled Son Gohan. Why is his energy so pathetically low? Choosing to ignore the insult, Gohan reiterates his previous inquiry. Without mincing words, XICOR reveals he is his other little brother. Though shocked, he doesn't fully bite, beckoning how that could possibly be true. Without giving a direct answer, the invader only chortles the two of them must really be half human after all, to be this pitiful. Right on time, Trunks and Vegeta arrive to offer their assistance. Happy to see the two, his confusion still lingers. Glancing over, XICOR takes interest in spotting a couple more Saiyans on this planet. The prince leers back at their foe, assuming he's the one responsible for taking out Goten. Though Gohan is still trying to figure out what the big picture here is, when XICOR spouts he is the ultimate genetic creation, possessing the genes of both the strongest warrior in existence and the most powerful deity, introducing himself by name to the Dragon Team. Gohan demands to know what he's on about. Lila appears behind him in an instant. Caught off guard, the gang jumps back to establish a little distance. Still bewildered by the situation, our half-Saiyan asks whose side is she on. But with a wicked expression, she reveals XICOR's father is none other than the Earth's own Son Goku, and she herself is his mother. While in disbelief at this revelation, how could such a thing truly be? As the Kaioshin of the West pops out of reality, the gang wonders what's going on, but only moving back to XICOR, she finds their bewilderment amusing. Done with talking in circles, Vegeta demands they cease the gibberish at once, and shouts they explain their objective in coming to Earth. XICOR assumed the answer to this was obvious, but states it's a simple one nonetheless. He is the heir to Son Goku, the most powerful warrior in the universe, so it's his own rightful designation to rule this place. Though Gohan believes there must be some kind of confusion here, as Goku was strong, but never attempted or so much as desired to rule the universe, and nobody else here plans on doing so either. Lila scoffs these words are nothing but bold-faced lies, urging her son not to be swayed by any of their gutless speeches. It is his destiny to rule all of reality. And by the look on his face, he appears not to need much convincing of this. Gohan continues his pleas, grunting he doesn't belong here whatever the case, and needs to get lost. Without a second thought, he obliterates a giant portion of Earth's surface, killing countless amounts of people. Gohan screams out to know what he's doing. The sinister villain scoffs that isn't important, as isn't the planet Gohan has spent so many pleasant memories with his father on, only furthering the rage inside our hero. Before XICOR sneers, he's going to make all of this disappear. The planet, the Dragon Team, and every last Earthling. Right as he's about to go off, Vegeta steps forward, grinning. This talk about Kakarot being the strongest has gone on long enough, as that hasn't been the case for quite some time now. Calling for Vegeta to wait, XICOR leans back smiling. So this is the Saiyan Prince. Grabbing him by the hair, XICOR mocks, the prince's royal blood must surely be weeping to hurt this bad from only a single punch. While Trunks can only bellow out for his father, Gohan rips off his coat, knowing there will be no peaceful way of resolving the situation. He turns to Trunks pleading he take Goten and get out of here. declaring this will be the end of Vegeta and the Earth alike. Gohan knows the predicament at hand is really bad. Powering up in a surprise to all. Somehow, Gohan himself has unlocked the Super Saiyan 4 transformation. Able to deflect the blast with one of his own. Trunks is still in disbelief at his ally's newest milestone. Though, this does little to deter XICOR's confidence. However, both the Earth and Vegeta alike remain safe, for now. Ruthlessly stomping on the prince's head, the villain goads the other Super Saiyan to hurry up and come at him, unless he simply plans to watch until Vegeta here is dead. Continuing this merciless, sadistic display, our hero only yells out for him to stop, as someone much more compromised doesn't plan to merely sit around. Trunks! Stop it! Catching Trunks dead in the headlights, XICOR questions if he's a Saiyan too. And if he is, why is he also so pathetically weak? Snarling, he be gone from this world. As he wipes his face, the ruthless monster scoffs to Gohan. He's finally chosen to join the fight. Barking, he come and get it. He gets to die today too. While Gohan prepares himself, XICOR continues his taunts, alerting he hasn't traveled all the way here to enjoy this battle, so he won't be pulling any punches. Spectating from a distance, Lila can't contain her joy on how perfect all of this is. Unbeknownst to her, Kibito Kai happens to be peering in, horrified at the sight of the West Kaioshin, prompting him to call out for the Elder Kai to alert him of the situation. Where, of all people, Tapion can be seen training, his younger brother, Minosia, and a couple tricksters from GT in the background. The ancestral mentor urging his trainee he must focus, as a Kaioshin can never allow themselves to forget the power of concentration. In between the hair and ears, I guess Tapion's race does somewhat resemble that of a Kaioshin. Now bellowing of the situation at hand. Today's lesson may have been all for naught. Though instead of squishing Tapion, the old Kai finds himself under the block of Kashin. Immediately assisting the old-timer in freeing himself, the student breaks out in a sweat begging forgiveness. Well, no worse for the wear. The nearly flattened Kaio questions if they're trying to kill him. A minute or so passes. After being filled in, old Kai is just as astonished to see what's going on. As they continue their banter, Tapion continues his training. But the Elder has the same question brought up at the initial reveal. Wasn't every Kaioshin, with the exception of Shin, killed by Majin Buu? Letting his mind drift back in time, he admits she should have met her fate at the hand of that detestable creature. So why is she so clearly on the Earth? On which, XICOR carries on with the assault of our heroes, not so much as breaking a sweat. Trunks helps his father to his feet, who has fallen back to his base form. Glaring at their foe, he states Gohan doesn't stand a chance. Thinking he has the answer, he suggests all his father and Gohan have to do is fuse. But the prince dismisses this without a second thought, not only because the pair would need time to properly sync the dance, or even the fact Gohan doesn't know the technique at all, but simply because nothing will work on this monster, putting Vegeta in a rare loss for answers. Although ascended to his highest state, Gohan himself also knows this is going to end badly unless something changes quick. If not, he can't protect the Earth this time, begging his father to tell him what he can do to save everyone. And hell, a phone rings in the distance. Gaz the Ogre answers, questioning who he's speaking to. It's one of the space Tanukis currently with Kibito Kai, most likely the Elder Sagoro. He informs who he is and where he's calling from, and he has a small request. Meekly, though also bluntly, inquiring if Goku is down there with him, causing a familiar Namekian's ears to perk at the mention of his name. Turning his head, he queries if they really said Goku. Unfortunately, the Ogre hasn't seen him in quite a few years now. Walking over, Piccolo demands they hand him the phone. He grills Goku took his leave from this world and should be neither in this realm or the next.
So here you are, Namekian.
We're going to dispose of you this time.
Alas, Piccolo admits he's a bit busy at the moment. While he doesn't know who the caller is, he recommends they just give up their search, hanging up rather abruptly. The lemurs did everything they could. They tell the Kaios Goku wasn't in hell either, mentioning someone said he has taken his leave from this world or something like that. Old Kai let down by the news. It seems they have exhausted their options on where he could be. Though he knows he felt the Saiyan's ki pass through hell when he left with Shenron, having no doubt he was there momentarily. Then a new idea clicking. Shenron. He took his leave from this world, leading the Kaio to believe he knows where Goku is. The world far above the skies of the realm of the Kaioshin. Neither in this world or the next. Neither in the living world or the realm of the dead. A world whose very existence has been forgotten. Pikkon is seen to be sitting with who is inferred to be none other than Goku. He murmurs to his Saiyan friend. He still can't believe he chose to come here of all places. Who responds there was no helping it. It was the only way to save Earth at the time. But any which way, at least he has Pikkon here to keep him company. Though the Otherworld ally warns he not misunderstand their situation, as he himself is only here due to the request of the Grand Kai. Giving his fingers a crack, Goku sighs he's merely happy to have himself a training partner, urging they get started on some sparring, shouting he bring it. Pikkon assures he won't simply be beaten over and over again. Seeming to briefly utilize a new form, Pikkon is effortlessly defeated, but the Saiyan comes rushing to make sure he's okay. Fortunately, only a bit bruised up. He scowls if Goku uses that form every time. There's no way he himself will ever be able to win. Giggling as he does, he promises it was only a mistake. On the world of the Grand Kai, the others managed to get a hold of the titular character, who in fact did see Goku. He and Pikkon flew off with some weird dragon a while back, though he isn't 100% positive where they went. Old Kai ushers the lemurs to hand over the phone, and promptly asks if he thinks they may have headed to the area high above the Kaio planet. And now that he mentions it, that does sound about familiar. And as we see with the other Kais, some things never change. Thanking his colleague, that settles it. It's now confirmed where Goku is. Speaking again with Sagoro, Grand questions who that was he was just talking to. And at the revelation it was one of the former Kaioshin. Let's just say he's a bit surprised. In fact, this is the first time he's ever spoken to him personally. Still looking in on the battle on Earth, Kibito Kai is left with little choice. The time has come for he himself to join in on the fight. Picking up a sword, his elder frantically shouts to know what he thinks he's doing. Not only have they already interfered with the world of the living enough, what difference does he really hope to make? But making a good argument, half the problem is that of the Kaios. Not to mention, the West Kaioshin herself is there too, which means it's not only a problem of the mortals. Beckoning for Tapion's attention, he confusedly offers his focus to the deity. Kibito Kai informs he is entrusting this realm to him. From here on out, it'll fall on he and Minogia to hold up the peace of this universe. Knowing what this must mean, he bellows for his mentor to wait. But in Goku-esque fashion, he teleports away, his elder gritting his teeth on how stupid and rash his successor is being. Though taking a second to recognize him, Lila soon puts it together this must be the East Kaioshin. Chuckling, she always knew it was only a matter of time before he showed himself. Who cuts right to the chase, demanding she explain why she has done this and how she managed to survive Majin Buu's attack. But she only scoffs at his pretentious attitude, sneering he and the others left her for dead. This notion news to Kibito Kai. Although true, she was pushed to the brink of death in the battle against Bibidi and his mindless minion. The pair's overconfidence led to her survival, But after the planet was destroyed, she was left to float in the emptiness of space for eons, countless years alone in a frozen void, waiting for rescue from her so-called Kaioshin family, who never came to save her. In a bit of power and revenge, could Shin's million-year-old mistake be the undoing of our heroes? Moving forward with her manifesto, Lila then hisses. While the East Kaioshin was living comfortably in the realm of the Kais, she was stranded in her own personal hell. As Kibito Kai attempts to elaborate, he had no idea of any of this. She interrupts, snarling she was in agony for countless years. Why and how could that be allowed to happen to a Kaioshin, who was supposed to stand atop the universe, be abandoned to suffer such a fate? It was during that epoch she discovered that nothing in this reality matters, except raw power. She had witnessed this truth firsthand. The admission stuns her counterpart. She continues, nothing can be accomplished without strength, and overwhelming strength is essential for those who desire to flourish above all others. The elder gazes on, listening to her speech, ashamed and astonished how far this Kaio has fallen. She again puts her foot down on her argument, stating Kaioshins are supposedly the apex of all life, but clearly don't possess the supreme power within it. Questioning, doesn't that seem like a contradiction? Unable to even wrap his mind around what's going on, East Kaio merely asks what she's been doing this entire time they've believed her to be dead. She reveals she's had her sights lined on the opportunity to conquer the galaxies, unveiling she was responsible for the existence of Frieza, who was able to prove superior for only a few decades before exposing himself as a failure. But this time, she has successfully created the Ultimate Warrior, ushering forth XICOR, urging he get on with the extermination of the Dragon Team. His boot to Gohan's chest, who like Vegeta, didn't last long in his Super Saiyan 4 state. He lets out a chuckle at his mother's request, before he turns to our hero, asking Gohan if he's ready to die. XICOR! Who the hell are you? What? Teleportation? Healing Gohan without wasting a second, Kibito Kai has somehow found a way to save Earth's heroes for the time being. Relieved Gohan wasn't too far gone for healing, the Kai has a request of the Half Saiyan. As XICOR spots the pair on a nearby butte, Lila taps down behind him, calling for his attention. She alerts that that man is also a Kaioshin. It is the one of the East. And for one reason or another, the hybrid is alarmed to discover he is one of his mother's people. She then narrows her brow, growling his very presence is detestable. She commands her son to erase any trace of his existence, who fully understands his orders. Back with the others, it seems the Kai has requested Gohan once again battle XICOR. That is indeed what has been asked of him. He informs the deity that while he appreciates being brought back, if he fights that guy again, the result won't be any different. But the Kaioshin has an ace up his sleeve, and Gohan won't have to try to win. All that's required is he draw his attention for a little bit. When he realizes it's the Z-Sword he's holding, turns out Kibito Kai is able to restore it. And while XICOR is off guard, he plans to seal him within the sword, our hero not even aware he had that ability. The villain cackles at the sight of Gohan being brought back, ready to beat him down once more. Shouting he get to it, our hero knows what he must do. Full power! Have you lost it? If you fire from there, you can kiss your precious planet goodbye. While XICOR's claim indeed carries some weight, Gohan knows they can restore any damage done to the Earth with Namek's Dragon Balls. But right now, all hope is lost if he can't keep his enemy from moving. In Satan City, Oob does everything he can to save as many people as possible. At the same time, he fully senses what's going on in the distance, feeling Gohan's ki dropping and then reviving. He can still only wonder what's going on. Of course, even an attack strong enough to wipe out the planet doesn't faze their aggressor. Simultaneously, Kabutokai prepares his own attack to seal the monster away. Right as he's about to do so, the villain dashes back to continue the battle. While on the world of the Kais, the Elder believes if the East Kaio attempts such an attack, he will surely perish. Spectating, Vegeta was at first optimistic in sensing Gohan's power restored, but it seems he decided to just waste it all at once. Trunks questions his father if he thinks something is going on, and he certainly does so. He believes it must be part of some sort of strategy, but whatever it is, the Kaio has made a big mistake in disregarding him, the Prince, as the most powerful warrior here, taking this affront as some kind of insult, as if he isn't dependable enough to be part of the plan. With said Kaio, he still can't get an angle to fire off his technique. XICOR is moving much too fast. Bellowing for Gohan to get out of the way. It's Vegeta.
Take this, you bastard!
Final Flash!
Buster Cannon!
Caught unaware in what's going on, Trunks calls on Gohan to hurry up already, Vegeta echoing for the Half Saiyan to get on with his attack. As he's charging the best Kamehameha he can manage, the West Kaio can't believe the power she's feeling from the three of them. As the trio gives it everything they have, Gohan again beckons his father, pleading he bestow upon him the same power he gave him when he was a child, the same that defeated Cell. Strange enough, Goku reacts to this. Standing almost at a loss for words, Pikkon questions if something's wrong. Peering into the void of the otherworld universe, he responds no, it's nothing. With the others, unfortunately, Gohan's thoughts would fall on deaf ears. As the old Kai explains, it would be impossible for that wish to be delivered to Goku, as his current location is a sealed world, a realm not even the Kaios can communicate with. Vegeta commands Gohan and his son give it everything they've got and hold nothing back. In understanding, XICOR deflects the blast into the air, though he doesn't escape unscathed. To do so, it seems he has greatly exhausted himself like never before. He growls out to them in frustration, annoyed these half-dead fools keep coming in droves of 2 or 3, but there will be no further miracles for them today, proving much more depleted than their foe.
You bastard!
Our heroes begin to drop like flies, leaving Gohan, once more, the lone warrior. Actually shaking from the standoff, XICOR's palms have been charred by the blast. Keeping his focus, he asks who wants to die first. With no sympathy for her child, Lila scoffs at the idea of him having so much trouble with these weaklings. But unknown to her, his struggles are only beginning. Believing he has the villain right where he wants him, Kabutokai at last unleashes the Divine Sealing Wave.
What? What is this?
Ready to end the battle, Kabutokai barks XICOR will sleep forever within this sword. As Lila finally wakes up, realizing something very bad is going to happen if she doesn't act now. With the technique executed, everyone lies in wait to see the result. But to the horror of our heroes, XICOR remains unsealed. Once again though, left quite exhausted from the attack. not only worn out, but furiously disoriented in what's going on. Lila can't help but acknowledge how close of a call that was, and to think the East Kaioshin has come this far along to actually be able to use that technique in battle. But with his one chance, he knows he has failed. Apologizing to Gohan before falling to the ground. Shouting out for him, Lila chuckles behind him. Sneering, it appears he's used up all his power. Looking on helplessly, XICOR spots the Z-Sword next to him. As he reaches out to pick it up, he puts together what the Kaio was talking about and trying to seal him within it. Rushing over to it, Gohan grabs it before the villain is able to do so, although he is still drained of energy himself. Though their foe is surprised to see Gohan has even this little power remaining, but by the looks of him, in itself that may be an overstatement. While our hero wields the sword, XICOR taunts the only use that thing had was to seal him away. Now since the East Kaioshin has been dealt with, it's worthless. However, Gohan reels it back behind his head, letting out a smile. Turns out Kabutokai wasn't finished after all, and has the strength remaining to attempt the technique once more, completely fooling the villain, who had believed him to be all but dead. Vegeta also surprised at this turn of events. Looking over to the Kaio, Dende is seen by his side. The prince figures he must have acted quickly and healed him, directing Gohan to stake the sword in the ground as he himself just did. XICOR is brought to pitifully begging the pair to stop. The smoke once again clearing. XICOR has been sealed away. Kabutokai declares victory, shouting to his allies they did it, but it doesn't appear Lila plans to take this lying down. Everything else seems to come to a settle. Vegeta still minutely doubtful they managed to pull it off. But optimistically, Gohan assures it's really over. Able to catch the East Kaio off guard, the West growls he's nothing but scum. Although sealing XICOR away, will the Z-Fighters be able to overcome the Kaioshin of the West, with their energy so depleted? Instead of confronting her, Gohan rushes to the aid of his comrade, while she easily has her way with Dende, screaming how dare he butt in, when he is but only the mere god of Earth. Offering her nothing but a glare, she sets her eyes on the Z-Sword, promising she will manage to undo the seal. Gasping out, Kabutokai beckons Gohan to defeat her, as she is the cause of all of this. Obstructing her path, she questions the Prince of Saiyans what he thinks he's doing. And as injured as he is, he curses the situation, demanding this be the final time he battles for the sake of Earth. But Lila believes he is much too weakened to stand up against her. She taunts. She is a god. Not only does his current state give her the advantage, but she can also read his mind. Undeterred, he continues his affront. She mocks even if he gets lucky and actually manages to land a punch. How he is now, it won't do any damage. Besides, she has around another 100,000 years before she even plans to think about dying. Sure enough, Vegeta is too far gone to make a difference. The Kaio admits he was worried her telepathic powers would eventually hurt their chances here. Also too weak to fight, Gohan can only stand by in horror. Stepping up to the sword, she goes to free XICOR to put an end to all of this. While Kabutokai theorizes, their best chance is to have someone who possesses the same power as her go against her, which means a demon, or merely himself. Grabbing his fellow Kaio from behind, she fumes he explained what he thinks he can do, as he's always been so powerless. But screaming, as a Kaioshin, he will not allow her to get away with this. She will atone for her sins with her life, which leads the West Kaio to believe he plans to sacrifice himself by self-destructing. He whips his head over to Gohan and Vegeta to tell he leaves everything else to the two of them. As she persists he stop what he's doing, Lila argues Kaioshins are not allowed to self-destruct. But rules aside, Kabutokai never thought he would see the day one of his own became as evil as she, bidding his sister farewell. While continuing his duty as guardian of Hell, Piccolo senses the disturbance in the living world. Even Goku and Pikkon feel something amiss, though they're supposed to be completely isolated from all other realms. Pikkon is the first to question aloud what is going on, theorizing if something is happening on the Earth. But Goku feels whatever it is, it's much too close to be from there. When someone touches the ground behind the pair, Nova Shenron, whose presence opens an entirely new can of worms. Cutting straight to the chase, he announces the Kaioshin is dead. Back on Earth, pounding the ground in frustration, Gohan blames himself for the death of Kabutokai. But Vegeta attempts to reason. The deity merely took responsibility for his past mistake. That's why all of this started. The Z-Sword stuck in the ground firmly. A crack begins to form. Not thinking such a thing could even happen, Vegeta worries it's only a matter of time before XICOR frees himself from his confinement, as a voice beckons them from above. Recognizing it, Gohan asks if it's really the Elder Kaio. And indeed it is, who confirms their fears. It seems the seal has somehow failed, putting the Saiyans in a state of panic. But luckily, it should hold out for about another month. But around then, XICOR will be loose once again. Although they have bought a little time, Gohan is overtaken by a wave of dread, questioning the old Kai what they should do, who himself is a bit lost, leaving our hero to wonder if there is anything they can do. But confirming the situation, Vegeta inquires if this means they must surpass that monster within a month's time. Apprehensive, Gohan argues no matter how much they train, there's no way they can hope to stand a chance. Thinking aloud, the Elder supposes such immense power couldn't be sealed away by a single Kaioshin, scoffing what a lackluster job Kabutokai must have done, who happens to be right behind him, bellowing what he's doing here. Given he is a Kaioshin, and not a malevolent one, there aren't too many other places for him to go. As his Elder gathers his composure, he brings up he didn't have to try to make himself look so cool in taking down Lila. That was just flashy what he did. On Earth, our heroes move to pick up the pieces. Lucky for them, any wounds suffered today will heal. Placing Dende on his magic carpet, Popo waves goodbye to the others before zipping away. Asking the real questions, Vegeta demands Gohan explain who that XICOR guy is, believing he and Goten to be Kakarot's only children. Naturally, Gohan has no idea, but his father did tell him a possibly relevant story quite a few years ago. Not long after his return from Yardrat, the two took a bath like old times, during which Gohan asked if he was really on the aforementioned planet for the entire last year. And as a matter of fact, he wasn't. Before making it back to Earth, he went somewhere else. There, he met this woman named Princess Lila, who offered him all the delicious food he could eat. Taking advantage of the opportunity, he ate everything he possibly could before falling into a food coma right then and there. And when he finally came to, he noticed a big scratch on his neck, and she, along with the entire feast, were both gone. Truth be told, this occurrence is what caused him to arrive a little later than Frieza. He hadn't planned on oversleeping. Laughing the situation off like it's nothing, his son doesn't see the same humor in this, pointing out if that guy from the future hadn't shown, it would have been horrible. Continuing his giggling, he didn't really think of it that way. In the present, the prince deduces that's when West Kaioshin must have stolen his genetic information, as a shadow engulfs the pair. A capsule core aircraft. Bulma in the driver's seat. She's grateful to discover everyone seems to be in one piece. With Goku, he questions the Shadow Dragon if he knows what's been going on in the worlds below. But not wanting to explain, he tells the Saiyan to shut up and follow, putting the two at a loss for words. Looking up, a mysterious castle appears in the clouds. The gang makes their way inside. Hey, Shenron reveals himself. Cackling, it appears son Goku has gained Nova as an ally. Even that won't matter as there is no way he will allow him to pass through. Beginning to speak to his Shadow Dragon brother, Hayes continues. informing them that unless they are able to defeat each floor's dragon in this palace, they will never reach his boss, and even if they manage to do so. Quickly calling for a timeout, Goku apologizes, but they're in a hurry, asking not to do this Palace of Evil thing today, completely deflating Hayes. Nova goes on with what he was going to say a second ago. There is an extremely urgent matter at hand, so they must speak with Omega Shenron immediately, commanding he call him now. Defeated, the dragon complies, muttering Nova is always such a buzzkill. Reminiscent of the scene after the battle with Nappa and Vegeta, Trunks is the first to wake up. In a rare show of affection, Brawl is happy to see her brother is okay, which is subjective, as he's still in a bit of pain. Always on a single note, Vegeta scoffs that's what he gets for slacking on his training, leaving his son in mildly ashamed silence. But the others give him a warm welcome. Swinging his head to find Goten, Videl assures he is fine, just unconscious. As she pulls up his covers, Bulma brings up what they were talking about off camera a few minutes ago. Essentially, XICOR will break free in a month's time. Her husband confirms this, as the old Kaio said so himself. Lowering her head, Bulma can only wish Goku was here. Pan asks if he can be brought back using Namek's Dragon Balls, but Vegeta snips that would be impossible. He isn't dead, he left the world of the living of his own volition. Gohan adding even if he were here, XICOR is still leagues stronger than his father was before he left, so it's not like he would be able to defeat him. This realization bringing down the entire room. Breaking the silence, Trunks can't help but feel if they did have Goku, he would manage to find some way to win, inevitably causing Vegeta to lash out, questioning just how long they intend to rely on Kakarot. Growling, they brainstorm why he thought he could leave this world in the first place. It's because he believed the rest of them would be able to handle any problem it faced without him. This is nothing more than a test, and they must prove him right in his decision. Everyone a bit taken aback by Vegeta's little speech, who promises he will find a way to defeat this XICOR fellow no matter what. Achoo! As it seems superstition can travel through multiple realms, Pikkon has to ask if heavenly entities can even get colds. Entering the room, Omega Shenron. He greets Goku with a smirk, stating it's been quite a long time since they've seen each other. Our hero returns the ironic salutation. Leaving the past where it is, he cuts right to the chase, wanting to explain exactly what is happening on the Earth. Making a long-distance call, a voice telepathically chimes in asking for Gohan. In a nervous sweat, Pan questions her father who that is, which is recognized as the old Kaioshin. He informs the gang they too have been searching for a solution to this problem, digging into all sorts of things. It really just seems more and more they're going to need to call in Goku for this one. The sound of a Kai saying this puts him in a state of shock, soliciting if he knows where he is. But with Vegeta, unfortunately this makes his little pep talk pretty much useless. He tells everyone they technically know his whereabouts, getting their hopes up. He explains it's a place called the Ryu Ocean Realm, or the Uocean Realm, or the Dragon something realm. I don't speak Japanese. However, whatever it's called, the Dragon team finds the name rather interesting. Goten wakes up right in time to get filled in firsthand on what's going on. Again asking the real questions, Vegeta beckons the old Kai to explain what this Ryu Ocean Realm is exactly. And to keep it simple, he reveals it's more or less a place where the various Shenrons live. But this statement leaves a bit further to be understood, as Bulma thought Shenron was created by planetary gods. Clearing this up, neither Kami or Dende ever quote created a dragon, but merely called one forth from this realm. Essentially, they've always existed in this other reality. The Namekians merely had the ability to summon them. Trunks then asks why Goku would go to a place like that. Furthering on his lore expansion, originally, the dragons were unable to leave the Ryu Ocean Realm. In order to call them forth to the living world, the Dragon Balls and a dragon model are needed. The latter Gohan remembers well. But when the evil dragons were born, their model was destroyed, meaning Shenron lost his physical presence in the living world. While seemingly a trivial issue to a wish-granting dragon, this in fact meant he was unable to return to his native realm and required a new vessel to enter into, leading Vegeta to deduce this means Shenron's spirit must have entered Goku. Pan inquires if that's what really happened. The old Kai believes it to be exactly the case. Goku has become one with Shenron and ventured to the Ryu Ocean realm. With the bright idea, Trunks excitedly suggests they simply have Dende summon him, just as they would any other dragon. But it won't be that easy. Generally speaking, you can't have a dragon delivered made to order. Brainstorming a way around this, Videl suggests surely the Elder Kai has this figured out too. But the Dragon Balls themselves are the only known way of hailing those from the next realm to this one, quizzing the gang on what's become of the ones of Earth. Still a little out of the loop, Goten comedically asks who's talking, only to be shushed by his sister-in-law. Gohan is pretty sure they're still on the lookout with Dende and Popo, but only in stone form. The deity figured this would be the case. The balls have been purged of their minus energy, but alas, haven't gathered enough regular energy to be used again. It will likely take another 1,000 years before they can be useful once more. Which is a bit too long for this particular scenario. The prince butts in to point out this is why he said earlier they don't need Kakarot. Even if they were somehow to magically get him here, he wouldn't stand a chance against XICOR. Gohan agrees, muttering there's no point in reviving him if he can't win. The Kaioshin announces to all, XICOR is Goku's son, and his misunderstanding of Goku's nature is what started this battle in the first place. This is a fight that may be able to be won through dialogue alone. So for that purpose in itself, it's imperative they involve Goku. Still being how he is, Goten whispers to Videl he's going to get in trouble if he doesn't get back to school soon. The Kaio continues, theorizing that perhaps Goku has merged with Shenron. Fighting may not be out of the question either. Gohan amazed to hear this, begging he explain further. Much like other iterations of fusing, when dragons and mortals become one, it has been told their power increases exponentially, tens of times greater than previous. At least, that is a legend. It has never been confirmed. Vegeta, as well as the others, bulking at this, as Goten, still on his nonsense riff, for whatever reason, seeks Pan's permission to go back to class, who snaps around to command her uncle to be quiet already, apparently not understanding the severity of this situation. Somehow, Trunks and Videl go to comfort him, assuring they'll explain everything to him later. Though the young girl brings up a good point. Without the Dragon Balls, none of what the Elder is saying can even be put into practice. But there actually exists a method that would immediately restore power to the Dragon Balls. If each of the 7 are simultaneously infused with light energy, the orbs will be rejuvenated. Almost like this idea inspired something in Dragon Ball Super. Begging the question what light energy is, the old Kai reveals it's a powerful key only able to be produced by a few select races. It's very rarely seen in the universe, causing Gohan to ask where they could find such a race. And of course, as luck would have it, the Saiyans happen to be one of them. This news rather jarring to our heroes. Putting 2 and 2 together, Trunks inquires specifically if he means Super Saiyans, due to the actual light they admit. The battle with Goku and Yakan being a prime example, which is indeed the case. When 7 Super Saiyans simultaneously infuse the 7 Dragon Balls with light energy, their problem will be solved. Now with a clear goal at hand, the Z-Fighters have taken their first step in bringing back Goku. At the very least, they now hold a sliver of hope. When Trunks makes a horrifying discovery. Between himself, Goten, Vegeta, Pan, Brawl, and Gohan, there are only 6 Saiyans on the entire planet. The prince grumbles, so what if they did have one more? Pan and Brawl aren't even Super Saiyans. So again, all of this is pointless. The girls rise to their feet, seemingly in annoyance, at the same time shouting he not underestimate him. Not hesitating to prove Vegeta wrong, they have actually achieved the form. As the day shows to be full of surprises, he demands they explain themselves and tell how and when they unlock this. Giggling at the look on everyone's face, turns out the pair have been secretly training for quite a while now. Even Big Brother was completely unaware of his sister's progress. Although, the problem still remains. They're a single Saiyan shy, causing the ship to momentarily grow silent. Gohan again beckons the old Kaioshin what they should do, who is also at an unfortunate loss for answers. Talking in circles, Vegeta again puts his foot down in defeating XICOR himself. But the others know this isn't a solution that's all too reliable. Several days pass. A large militaristic presence has gathered at the site of the Z-Sword. As a soldier informs, he has nothing to report as of yet. Looks like the gang chose to utilize the influence of Mr. Satan to assure XICOR isn't accidentally released. He commands the men not to allow so much as a single bug to enter this sector. The others have been made aware of what's going on. Krillin whimpers to his wife he hopes they don't get killed by this XICOR guy too. After all, he hasn't met his 1 to 2 mandatory deaths per series yet. Not helping to ease his fears, 18 thinks aloud. If he has come to rule this universe, they're probably all doomed. The former warrior feels helpless in his old age, wondering if there is anything they can do. In the background, Roshi snickers about this whole situation, admitting Goku must be a pretty smooth operator after all to be swinging behind a scary wife's back like this, with space babes no less. Though Krillin argues he doesn't think that's how it went down. Echoing my own thoughts, Turtle asks how many times Krillin has died, including the pending XICOR one. Giving it an honest count, it looks like this'll be number 5. With Goku, Pikkon, and the Shadow Dragons, Omega has just finished filling in our heroes of the happenings on Earth. Jumping directly into recovery mode, Goku asks what he can do to help everyone. But with a stern leer, he tells the Saiyan he can do nothing. The residents of the Ryu Ocean realm cannot travel to the lower worlds of their own volition. Nova adding, that includes Goku, whose evil brother, Eyes, cackles since he fused with the Earth's dragon. He's one of them now, and can't go home unless he is summoned like any other Shenron. The news puts him in a rare state of powerlessness. Oceanus quips he should have known all of this beforehand, reprimanding him for not being fully informed before making his decision. Suddenly, a light engulfs the room, and a particular energy is sensed by all. The Shadow Dragons recognize what's going on immediately, the source of which emanates from Purunga's palace. Matter-of-factly, Omega states Namek's dragon must have been summoned. Upon asking what this means, given the recent circumstances, there is little doubt the people of Earth are behind this. On New Namek, in order to make their wishes, Gohan and Trunks have somehow made a quick off-world road trip. The first, to restore any damage caused to the Earth since XICOR's visit. Second, restore the lives of all those killed in the aforementioned encounter. Which brings back Kibito Kai. But does that also mean? Glancing over at their comrade, the others notice the change as well, questioning each other what their final wish should be. Trunks figures it's at least worth a shot, and requests Son Goku be brought to this very spot. Mori relays the wish, but predictably, it can't be done, as reviving Goku would greatly exceed Purunga's power. Even though it's what they expected, Goten can't help but feel let down, resolving they'll just need to find another Super Saiyan after all, causing Trunks to remember something. When they were kids, didn't they fight a really strong Super Saiyan with Gohan and Videl? Turning his way, he couldn't possibly mean, but he does, suggesting they revive Broly. He reminds the obvious, and Broly was their enemy, and how bad of an idea this is. However, what other options do they have at this point? Besides, considering how strong each of them are now, not to mention Gohan and Vegeta, he shouldn't be a threat to anyone. Reluctantly agreeing, Goten doesn't want any part of this if things turn south. He questions Mori if they can still bring someone back to life even if they died a really long time ago. But the Namek has complete confidence in Purunga's ability to grant this. With that, he pleads they bring the one called Broly back to life, the one who died on Earth. While the wish is being made, Goten brings up a good point. What if he decides to go all crazy here as soon as he wakes up? But his friend quells they can handle him, confirming this can easily be fulfilled. Listening in, Old Kai questions who Broly is.
Your wish has been granted. Farewell.
Whipping their heads back and forth, the boys can't sense Broly anywhere. Mori informs if he died on Earth, that is where he'll be resurrected as well, proving Trunks' plan less than perfect after all. Knowing if they don't get back home soon, Broly will wreck the planet before XICOR even gets a chance to. Coming to their rescue, Kibito Kai extends an arm to teleport them back to Earth, who are elated to see him. On which, confused, Broly asks himself what happened, as he was sure he had been killed. He blindly wonders what's going on. Instinctively sensing his power, Vegeta touches down nearby, though he's furious to find he has somehow come back again. The prodigy not too happy to see the prince either. but he does manage to speak a few words instead of rashly running into battle, verifying this truly is the living world. Vegeta smirks, of course it is, giving his Saiyan counterpart an even further shock, as he suddenly remembers Goku. More so, the family Kamehameha that killed him in the first place. The memory's burning right through him. Realizing what's going on, Vegeta mockingly asks if remembering his own death is haunting him that much. Jumping between the pair, Gotenks pleads they both stop. Specifically Broly though, who naturally takes a bit more to be restrained. Laying eyes on his half-son? The confusion is shared between them, as Broly questions who this guy is now. Gritting his teeth, Vegeta admits he figured the boys were behind this. But lying through his teeth, the fused warrior assures it wasn't him, it was, When Broly creeps up bellowing, he not interfere.
Take this! Galactic Donuts!
Ensnaring the enraged Saiyan. It seems their plan has a shot in the dark after all. Though, with such a mindless fighter, our heroes have a new task at hand, in finding a way to control Broly. Somewhere in the snowy highlands, Android 17 seems to miss his target. The Ranger wonders what has happened. There are hardly any animals here anymore. Ader notes the Earth has been strange for a little while now, believing something bad has happened. The admission gets the cyborg's attention. Most likely, he thinks this means another battle has started. Reloading his rifle, 17 can't help but quip. Earth just gets itself in one pinch after another. Continuing to press his concerns, Android 8 reminds this new threat probably involves his friends. But he responds he never really got acquainted with the heroes of Earth. Regardless, doesn't this include his sister? Suggesting he could at least go and help her. But again, he feels it's not his place. After all, it's not like she's ever come looking for him or anything. Really pressing the issue, the robot insists she'll need his help, and he is surely one of the strongest fighters on the planet. With a smile, 17 assures, to her, he's only that guy who killed her husband. It's pretty obvious no matter the circumstances, she doesn't want his help. Ever the bleeding heart, Frankenstein pleads his friend understand that was no fault of his own, but only due to the meddling of Dr. Mew, and he must learn to accept that. At any rate, she doesn't even know he was resurrected, so he thinks the best thing to do is to leave her be. But if number 8 wants to go so bad, he's welcome to venture to assist on his own, finally putting the robot in a state of silence. Although Earth could surely use every last warrior it has, even a fighter as powerful as 17 may not be much more than a speed bump. At Capsule Corp, Broly sits restrained in sophisticated-looking irons. No matter how hard he struggles, he fails to break free. When Brawl enters the room, the Saiyan leers at her in anger. With almost just as much spite, she derides that they've brought some food for him, a hot meal at that. Though the monster merely turns away in disgust at the situation. She bends down to place the tray in front of him, mocking he's a full-blooded Saiyan, so he must be a real pig too, just like her father, urging him to be a good boy and eat. Pressing a button nearby, being released from his chains. He doesn't wait to grab a hold of Brawl. Grinding his teeth, he vows to kill her. Alarmed but not completely terrified, Brawl shouts she'll tell him right now. The era when he was the strongest is long over. These words do nothing to deter the maniac. Continuing, she states nowadays, anyone who so much as a drop of Saiyan blood can become a Super Saiyan, which means he has no choice but to do what they say. Slamming her hand down on another button, it completely fries Broly, incapacitating him. With a smug expression, Brawl's happy to showcase what she meant firsthand. Elsewhere, gazing downward, Omega mentions aloud, it seems a Super Saiyan from the past has been resurrected through Piranga's power, hence the reason for his summoning. Goku can't help but wonder who that could be, and for what purpose. The dragon then explains, those on Earth are trying out a method of restoring their own Dragon Balls. Silent for a moment, Goku realizes he can do nothing but wait for his friends back home to take care of business. Omega chirps this goes for every dragon, and it's not like Goku is the exception. With that being said, one of them here is neither a dragon or a resident of the Ryu Ocean realm, not clicking immediately with our hero. Of course, this means Pikkon, who even himself appears a bit confused at what Omega Shenron is getting at. In a dream, Broly's father calls out for his son to listen well, who is found sitting upon a throne. Paragus affirms he must despise with every fiber of his being the royal family who sent them into exile, as well as all other Saiyans besides the two of them. Though the dream quickly turns into a nightmare, as he can't overcome his rage towards Goku. Regaining his consciousness, he breaks from the restraints, growling the name Kakarot, rushing in first. Bulma. Lucky for her, Vegeta isn't far behind, who gives him a death stare before asking if he also wants to kill him, the prince. Without even waiting for an answer, he scoffs if that's the case. Then he has to get stronger. At his current power, he doesn't so much as stand a chance against his son, let alone himself. Being so easily overpowered seems to bring him somewhat back to his senses, though Vegeta continues to egg him on. Appearing to make his decision, he extends his arm towards him, but the look on both of their faces doesn't instill confidence this will go well for the legendary Super Saiyan. Instead, blowing a hole in the wall, Bulma naturally lets loose her familiar sassy self, screaming he can't just go around destroying her house like this. Keeping his eyes locked on Vegeta, he promises one day he will kill him. With a smile, the prince laughs he'd just try it, letting him take off and leave. His wife scowls if it's okay to simply let him go like that. Before he can answer, Trunks rushes in, horrified at the thought Broly may have escaped. But as she does, Bulma informs he didn't get away. Vegeta here let him go, causing the young Saiyan to remind his father they need Broly to revive Goku, but possibly dooming them all. He asks how many times he has to tell everyone they don't need Kakarot to defeat XICOR, arguing this is no time to get prideful. Vegeta walks past him, telling everything will be alright, and to just follow him to the gravity room. He lowers his shoulders in defeat, believing all of this is now hopeless. If his father won't even help, how can they think Broly will? Not far away, a waitress thanks a customer for waiting, delivering their order of a Miracle Cream chocolate parfait. The customers being Goten and Palace, the former pleading with his love interest. Something very important came up the other day. That's why he didn't show up to meet with her and the others. But the girl is completely unforgiving to those who forget to keep their promises. In a nervous sweat, it's not actually so much he forgot. However, he doesn't know exactly how to convey what happened. Resolving to be blunt and likely sound like a crazy person, he explains how this bad guy came from outer space. So to protect the Earth, he and a few friends found him and he himself ended up getting knocked out by the evildoer. That's all. For whatever reason, Pan is seen to have joined her uncle on this date. Snatching her ice cream, she downs it like a martini, leaving our Saiyan hero even more worried how worked up this incident has gotten her. Staving off the brain freeze like a boss, she questions what happened after he woke up. Still not knowing how to elaborate, he simply blurts out the bad guy isn't exactly dealt with yet, so his father's friend, Vegeta, is making him go train for a while. And quickly zipping him away, Pan barks he hurry up and spit it out already, who promises he's trying, asking her to wait here. He tells Palace the thing is, he has to go fight that alien, so they won't be able to see each other for a while. Coldly, she calls Goten a liar, revealing that alien did turn out to be just a cute little monkey. For a moment, putting the boy at a loss. The girl adds it didn't even do anything wrong for someone to want to fight it. Putting together she's referring to the alien they spoke of in class the other day. He tries to explain that's not the one he's talking about. This one is completely different. But she hates liars more than anything, proving some battles can't be won, as both he and Pan appear to have given up. Unbeknownst to them, Broly is looking into the city from above, spotting a couple children with their father. Even despite the wonderful connection they seem to have, the Saiyan can't help but become enraged at the thought of his own, remembering back to a moment he was screaming in agony, as Paragus only hissed for him to quiet down. Furthermore, commanding him to abandon all thought and let his mind become blank, as he could merely beg him to stop. Of course, he was only able to do this because of the device placed on his head. Taking his anger out on those nearby, he shouts, "Be gone, trash!" So, you're Broly, huh? Coming out of nowhere, Omega's plan for Pikkon slowly begins to show itself. He comments on how bloodshot and crazed the Saiyan appears. But not in the mood to talk, Broly demands he tell him who he is. Speaking fairly, Pikkon admits it's kind of a long story. In no mood for games, the villain repeats the question, commanding he explain his presence here. Cheerfully, he reveals he's come to persuade him. Understandably confused by this admission, the Otherworld warrior goes on to detail the Earthlings' plan to revive Goku. But they need his help. Which begs the question, Goku, do you mean Kakarot? Confirming the two are one and the same. Broly can't believe it, asking if this means Kakarot is no longer in the living world. Again informing that is indeed the case. Taking great joy in the realization Kakarot is finally dead. This means now all he has to do is kill Vegeta, and he will be the lone Saiyan in existence. But that's not really the reaction Pikkon meant to provoke. He explains something terrible has happened and they actually need Broly to help revive him. This mention does nothing to slow his elation, inquiring what makes him think he'd be so eager to help. And truth be told, Pikkon knew it wouldn't be that easy to convince him. The Saiyan admits he doesn't know how he is brought back, but plans to do things his own way, starting by killing all these annoying Earthlings. Pumping his fists, our hero is fine with this, but first he must defeat him, though Broly feels pretty confident in his ability to take on this newcomer. Not wanting any innocents to come into harm's way, Pikkon suggests they change locations, much to the reluctance of the villain. Showcasing how vastly outmatched he is. He questions why Broly is so frustrated. Is it his hatred for Son Goku? His jealousy of Vegeta? Further inquiring why he hates his fellow Saiyans.
Try asking yourself the source of your anger. Shut up! Shut up!
While furious on the outside, Broly indeed knows what makes him so chronically irate, overhearing a conversation his father had, where he called his son nothing but a pawn. He plans to simply use Broly to become the new Saiyan King himself. He falls to the ground, holding his head at the memory. This signals to Pikkon. He does know his trigger.
Be quiet!
Open yourself, Broly! Hours pass, but Broly wouldn't fall into a blind fury like so many times before, and neither would he defeat his adversary. In a first, his opponent merely let him tire himself out. He appears to have given up on the battle, almost having a casual moment, asking where Kakarot is now, who informs he's currently training in the heavenly realm, then wanting to know if he's even stronger than Pikkon, causing him to admit he is vastly stronger. Just barely connecting the thread in the conversation, the Saiyan mutters he is only interested in fighting, and he will surpass Goku and Vegeta before killing them both with his own hands, which allures. He has agreed to resurrect Goku. Pikkon asks if that means that, but he assures his goal will not change, no matter how outmatched he is. And so, their month of preparation formally begins. In the gravity room, really getting into the sparring, even Trunks can't help but feel Goten may be overdoing it, as Vegeta appears to be having at some mental training. At Satan Stadium, the girls do a little of their own dusting up, taking a liking to both kids, not just his granddaughter. Hercule worries they're going to hurt themselves if they keep going at it so hard. With many of Earth's fighters giving it their all to train against XICOR, who else will we see join the battle? at Kame House. Just like always, Krillin trains while setting his focus towards the sea. 18 catching him. With a smile, she asks what he's up to so late at night. Slightly embarrassed, he apologizes if he woke her. He just thought, just maybe, he may be able to do something useful this time, causing his wife to merely listen quietly. Lowering his goals a bit, he at least wants to be able to protect his family, but she warns he not overdo it. He simply smiles back at her, almost as if to agree. Tossing off her blanket, she decides to get in on the training, questioning if he'd like to spar, which sounds great to the old man. Contacting her necklace, the fighting quickly halts. Krillin bends down to pick it up profusely, uttering over and over how sorry he is. Able to get a closer look, he lets out a sigh of relief. It was only the chain that broke. He promises he'll fix it in no time, but she urges he not worry about it. After all, it's not like she really needs it. But Krillin asks, is this not the keepsake from her brother? Motioning to hand it over, he recommends she hang on to it. Peering at his own, 17 lies in a bed near Android 8. As too many siblings do, the pair don't even know how the other feels. In this case, the two cyborgs have such an unspoken familial bond. They've both been carrying around identical pendants all of these years. Under a scenic waterfall, Broly appears to cool off with some meditation. Pikkon waits nearby, far above. Despite the situation, Goku doesn't let his training slip. Hayes realizes maybe they too should have been honing their skills this entire time, but Oceanus doesn't see the point. Since they were all originally one anyway, she figures just leave the heavy lifting to these two. Alongside them, Nova and Eyes wonder what hopes they really have in defeating this XICOR guy, but that all falls upon if Goku can even be revived. When someone new pops up, announcing the day of resurrection is at hand. Given his appearance, this may be the humanoid iteration of Purunga. He alerts everyone the conditions have been met. Panning to Nova, he confirms who this man is. Before he announces, all there is left to do is wait. Inquiring what their chances truly are, Purunga doesn't know. But what he does know, if they all fail, the living world, the afterlife, heaven, hell, and even the likes of the realm of the Kaioshin's and the Dark Demon Realm and the Ryu Ocean Realm will all be no more. Balking at this, the Shadow Dragons never before believed the situation was so dire. But one way or another, 1 month passes. At the site of the Z-Sword, a pair of soldiers salute Satan, informing they've evacuated the entire army. Trying to look cool, he warns they better get out of here too.
Yes, sir!
But one more thing, he wants them to tell the media that evil will never prevail so long as Satan walks the earth. Asking if they've got it, they salute their hero. But in front of the three of them, by the looks of Trunks' hair, they may have spent a while in the hyperbolic time chamber. As the sword begins to crack further, Vegeta announces the time has come. When, holy hell, the day of saved Krillin is here. Greeting him. At least Trunks is happy to see the old man. Showing the usual disrespect, Vegeta doesn't even concern himself with facing the fighter to question why he bothered to show up. Self-aware, he figured if the world was at stake, even he may come in handy. In a pinch, he always has the Destructo Disc after all. Though the prince tells him to forget any notion of getting involved, he will handle this alone. Whispering to Trunks, he mentions how his dad seems a bit more intense than usual, which isn't surprising to the Half-Saiyan, as he's trained incredibly during the last few weeks. Wondering how much training could really be done in a single month, that's when Krillin notices Trunks' hair has grown, who reveals it wasn't the hyperbolic time chamber, but something much more impressive. Dr. Brief actually constructed a training area that regulates the flow of time. Confirming if he really means a place like the Room of Spirit and Time. That's exactly what he means. He himself only went in there for a year, but Vegeta stayed there for 5 years. Needless to say, Krillin is astonished at the prince's dedication to this battle, and his word of doing it by himself. More and more of the Z-Sword chips away, as Vegeta reiterates the battle is about to begin. Krillin finally grasping the reality of the situation. Noticing Hercule still nearby, Trunks shouts for him to get out of here while he can. An idea he agrees with. Wishing him luck and hollering they hang in there. Vegeta has had enough of waiting, calling out XICOR to just get out here already. Sensing his ki from a distance was one thing, but Krillin, feeling the full force up close, thinks it's just unreal. While fighting crime, Oob also becomes aware the moment has come. Getting to his feet. Veins pop in XICOR's head as he growls. They will all pay for this. And that concludes everything officially released by Toyble for his Dragon Ball AF series. But we do have a few more sketches RafaelKyon, check them out on DVR below, was kind enough to ink, as well as a side chapter that works as an open-ended conclusion. Gazing at his hands, XICOR bellows out with anger. While his old age has removed any reason to be afraid, Krillin knows this is one of the few moments he should be trembling at the power before him, jesting if Vegeta feels the same. But he's gone, right up in his adversary's face. He smirks that he's happy to see the villain is finally awake, not willing to give him a proper response. The prince continues, questioning how it was to so peacefully slumber within that sword, getting his attention. Remembering their last bout like it was only moments ago, XICOR scoffs if Vegeta really plans to fight him again, which is exactly the case. Deriding his foe, the villain spits at the pride of the royal family, calling his show of persistence pathetic. Powering up to Super Saiyan, our hero is ready to get this started. Reaching out, the invader offers him a pleasantry to wipe him and his bloodline out of existence in the next few seconds. It's the least he can do. Knocking XICOR back, Krillin can't figure out specifically what Vegeta just did.
Over here, simpleton!
Still trying to deduce what's happening, Krillin notes how XICOR keeps getting pushed back, even though Vegeta's ki is much smaller. This causes him to question if he is merely using the regular Super Saiyan form. And if so, why isn't he utilizing a more powerful state? But Trunks informs it's something else. But it does indeed bear relevance to Super Saiyan. Even XICOR retorts to blatantly asking what's going on, knowing Vegeta is surely up to something, causing the prince to chuckle, as during his training, he finally mastered a technique to kill XICOR. Krillin inquires if this statement means he found a way to surpass Super Saiyan 4. But that's not what happened. At first, that is what his father sought out. However, the villain laughs at the mention of his own death, in complete denial of such a technique existing. But Vegeta assures he has surpassed him in terms of both power and speed. Not to mention, the training increased his stamina immensely. Throwing his head back, the invader believes surely the royal jests, a power that surpasses him, spouting what trick is he trying to pull here, offering to help put his arrogance aside and teach him the basics. Vegeta responds, "No, let me teach you," explaining there are 3 distinguished types of Super Saiyan, his son having the same conversation. Trunks goes on that Super Saiyan 4 is fundamentally different from the other forms, and when comparing it to 3, Krillin always felt they seemed pretty distant in appearance. In terms of ability, Super Saiyan 3 exhausts physical strength and specializes in an increased rate of speed. While 4 puts its focus on stamina and energy. But his explanation, as the battle, is interrupted. Roshi is revealed to be telling the story. Vegeta and Goku Jr. standing on edge, desperately pleading he explain what happened next. But as the sun begins to set, it appears time has run out today, resolving to leave off here for now, despite the children's protests. Even as they beg to know what happened with Vegeta against XICOR, or what became of Goku and his merger with Shenron. The hermit is simply too old and tired to continue the story. Pan, able to relate, tells the boys to go home for the day, and maybe they'll pick back up tomorrow. Finally obeying their elders, the pair turn to leave. Walking away, they banter on how. To be fair, Kame-senin did say the story was almost over forever ago now, and at one point, he even said Gohan was going to be the main focus after defeating Cell, considering the possibility he's starting to go senile or something. Easily in earshot, Pan thanks the old man for putting up with their bratty attitudes. Though, being the last one of his friends, he knows it's his duty to educate the young ones on the past. Peering into the sky, even Pan feels a bit lonely in the passing of all her friends and family. As he kneels to the ground, Roshi admits the part of him drinking the elixir of immortality has always been a fabrication, making it ironic he'd be the last survivor of the group. But something above catches Pan's attention before she has a chance to answer. Some kind of spaceship? A villain who calls himself Bebedy, the son of Babidi, has come to avenge his father's death from 100 years ago, demanding his minion, Majin Buu, to tear apart this rock. But on it without a second thought, the kids hop to it. The old folks look at each other in the realization they have nothing to worry about. Roshi even removing his glasses to appreciate the sight before him. Watching him fight, it seems the new generation is coming along just fine, causing the Turtle Master to think, maybe his job is finished? Complimenting the boys, Pan congratulates him on a job well done before turning to Roshi to get his opinion. But the tired old man collapses. Waking up at home, he can't help to wonder where he is. But seeing his old house behind him, he was sure that place was long gone, as someone calls out for him, Krillin. Questioning if that's really him, he bows his head in respect, thanking him for working so hard for so long to make everyone the best they could be. Still trying to catch his bearings, Yamcha appears, just as happy to see the hermit. Not just him, but the entire original gang. Everyone taking their turn to thank him for all the good he has done. This leaves the old man unable to think of how to respond. Before long, even Ox, Tien, Chaozu, and Chi-Chi show up. With a big smile, his old student tells him it's time to rest up now. The once rival Crane School students urging the same. When Grandpa Gohan and Master Mutaito suddenly appear as well, who offer their master and student, respectively, a job well done. He had a very difficult task and handled it with perfection. Still in shock at everything going on, another familiar, yet childlike and carefree voice shouts for him, Goku himself, just as he appeared in the good old days. Reaching out for his hand, he too thanks him for everything he has done, and it's time to rest up. Gazing at the boy, he whacks him on the head, asking what the big idea is. The old man bellows this is no time for rest, as the young turtle student's training isn't over yet. Beginning to argue, Roshi demands he get a shell and swim from this shore to the next, 50 times over and back. But asking, now? Of course he means now, urging him to get going. Krillin can't help but laugh at his friend, but unbeknownst to him, this also goes for himself. Warning they watch out for the shark from ashore. Everyone finds great amusement in the childhood antics of the kids, and Roshi got to relive one of the best moments of his life one more time, even if he didn't know it the first time around. But in the living world, reality quickly sets in for the others. Unable to wake the old-timer, Roshi has finally passed on from the earth. Revisiting a few places, he has to ask Goku. That sure was a strange adventure, wasn't it? Well, indeed it was. It isn't their time anymore. And as it makes the hermit a bit sad, Goku assures him the next world is full of amazing things too. Asking if this means there are sexy women there, the Saiyan laughs there sure are, changing the old man's attitude pretty quickly, ready to hurry on with it and get to the next realm. Proving despite the circumstances, some people never change, but as inconvenient as it may be at times, you can't help but feel at home with the familiarity. Getting a final glimpse of the lookout, there is one last thing Goku has to do. Thanking the people of Earth for everything and sticking around for this wild adventure, as the planet's greatest hero and his greatest mentor pass the torch and move on to the next world.